Episode 11 of the Consistency Podcast is here. My name is Stephen Glosta, coming off a very productive day with the Kirk Minahan Show Network. It began in the morning when I was on the main show with Kirk and Mike Montante. When that show concluded, I went on to the producer's show with Gus and Coleman. And then in the evening, I was on Mike and the Minifans with Menners, BA, and the guys. And overall, whether you listen to one show or all three shows, I hope it was an enjoyable experience. I found it personally to be a day filled with great conversations, good people. There was a lot of laughs, and I really hope that translated over to you guys and you got some sort of enjoyment out of all the shows that were on the network today. I wanted to address a few things, and the first is that theory or concept or topic that Kirk brought up today that I seem to lay down when I get in the studio. You know, there's a lot of venom and there's a lot of negative comments on the Consistency Podcast, but then I'm not being my consistent self when I'm in the studio. I don't agree with that 100%. And I think that people have this perception that I'm going to go into the studio and be a complete asshole. And that's never been the case with me, because I have such a respect for Kirk. And I believe that he is the best podcaster in America, that me being a total prick isn't going to help the show. And I think that what makes it different for me, especially when I'm in the studio, is that Kirk is the type of person that will listen to you. He will acknowledge you. He understands what you're saying. And he's able to converse with you in a way that you can really understand his point of views and you can learn from him. And I wish more people would have those type of conversations, because Kirk makes the atmosphere very relaxing. And it's very easy to have a conversation with him. And that is what Kirk does better than any podcaster. And you just don't see that a lot. And it's funny because I'm sure other people who have gone to the studio have had that game plan while they're driving. Oh, I'm going to bring up this topic. I'm going to say this. But then when you get into the studio, you don't have that thought process anymore, because Kirk makes the show great from minute one to the final minute. And having that ability to talk to someone who is agreeable makes it much less of a feeling that you need to be an asshole to get your point across. And I don't feel I laid down at all today. You know, right when the show started, I said to Kirk, hey man, I think you're getting your dick kicked in. There aren't many people who will come into the studio and say that to him. Now, Kirk could have easily got mad. He could have yelled at me, could have swore at me up and down, thrown me out of the studio, and he didn't. He listened to what I had to say. He acknowledged some of my statements, and then he helped me to understand his perspective, which was great. Then later in the show, again, I said his hiring pattern with producers is dumb. Again, he could throw me out of the studio. He didn't. He acknowledged it. And I think part of the problem that a lot of people have is that they don't listen to each other. A lot of people want to talk. People like to talk all over each other, but no one listens. And I think Kirk has an ability to listen and make you feel like your voice is heard. And I also think I didn't lay down during the Oppenheimer conversation with Jeff D. Lowe. Now, a lot of people if Jeff and Kirk say that Oppenheimer was better than Godfather 2, a lot of people would be yes man in that situation. Oh, Kirk and Jeff, you guys think Oppenheimer's better, so I have to believe that. And I don't think that's the case. And it's not because I'm Sicilian. I think that there was a better cast and better acting in Godfather 2 than there was in Oppenheimer. Now, it's not to say that Oppenheimer was a bomb. It was a beautiful, awesomely done movie. This should win every award in 2023. This movie, on a scale of 1 to 100 for me, is like a 92 or 93. But I have Godfather like a 97. It's not a bad thing, but I'm not going to agree with Jeff and Kirk for the sake of agreeing. I feel differently about Oppenheimer than I do about The Godfather. And I feel that both movies, you could easily have cut 15 to 20 minutes out of each movie, and both movies would have been great. Jeff, for example, didn't agree with me, and that's okay. But we were able to listen to each other. And again, I think that goes a long way when you listen to people. And, what I'm about to say next, I know again, is not what I built the Consistency podcast on, and I'm being inconsistent in my statement going forward. But I hope to be a little bit more consistent in what I am going to say about this topic, and that's the one about Gus. And it stems from the 2-week self-imposed ban that Kirk had initially said a week. I moved it up to 2 on saying anything negative about him. And that stems from the Burn Barrel podcast, the Shat Chat, where I had taken the Big Ziti and Peas joke and I used that on the Burn Barrel. And that's something I shouldn't have done. I have to have that ability to keep both shows separately. And the fact that I brought a joke onto that show was poor. That's a loss. That's on me. I shouldn't have done that. I obviously accept full responsibility to that. Very low moment. Very embarrassed. And when I was thinking about the 2-week suspension going forward in terms of saying anything bad about Gus, I kind of want to make it permanent in terms of like being venomous, the vitriol, because I don't think that's going to get any place. Now, there has to be some acknowledgement, obviously, going forward, once the 2 weeks are up, if, Gus makes any mistakes or anything on the show, it's okay to call him out, just like, Coleman or anybody, if you disagree with things that they're doing. But I think I want to kind of slow down on my commentary towards him and all that stuff, because I feel like, I've talked about him a lot in the first 10 episodes. I threw out that nickname, which I noticed that a lot of people have caught on to and enjoy. But I don't think that there's any more that I can add about Gus going forward. And I can sense by Twitter and people who call in that there are people out there that are having issues with Gus going forward, that I would just like these people to go forward with this stuff. I feel like I've run my course when it comes to him. And to be honest, talking to him during the producer show, post-show, I like the kid. And I've said that before, so I'm not being inconsistent in that. I do like Andrew as a man, as a guy. He's funny. We have a project that we might be setting up together in 2024 concerning a vlog, which should be cool. So I'm going to soften my stance a little bit on him. But certainly, everybody out there who, has things to say about him, should go onto the network, should call into Kirk, should make their comments known on Twitter. And you guys can certainly run with it. I'm not going to go back on my comments or my feelings about him. But I think adding more to the fire going forward, it's just not going to be productive. And, I also got that feeling from Kirk, and I learned from him today on why a change shouldn't happen, and why, doing another producer search, for example, might come across as a bit. So again, I think it was a lot of learning today and understanding and getting a good feel of what's going on. And, if people are disappointed by me maybe wanting to change the venom and the vitriol of the show, then there's nothing I can do to change that. But I think it's good for everybody, if I kind of soften my stance a little bit with him going forward. And when it comes to softening of stances, I hope that Kirk and Rico can mend fences. I don't know what that's about. And I would hate for Rico to not be a part of the world going forward. There has been those things in the past where Kirk and Rico have disagreed about a few things, and Kirk will say he's down on Rico, but then a month later, Rico's reappeared, and I hope this is one of the cases. And but I don't know. I mean, that email stuff today with KFC, how valid it was, and I think it was. I mean, there's people out there saying, maybe Kirk told Kevin to send the email out. I don't think that's the case. I think Kevin, being a knucklehead, sent the email out. People sent this to Kirk, whether it was 1 or 5. Everybody, people sent this email to him. And I think Kirk genuinely feels hurt by Rico. I think that it's a one-sided friendship. I think Rico uses Kirk in a way to get leverage on a contract, to talk to people, to get advice from. And I don't know if it's mutual. Does Rico pick up the phone? Does he return text quickly? That may be something that the Skip doesn't enjoy. And then Menner's brought it up tonight on Mike and the Minifans, where Rico seems to always be off-put by Minifans when they call into healthy debate. Like, he almost feels embarrassed when Minifans call in, and I don't know why that's the case. I mean, if riders call into Kirk's show, he's not going to hang up on them. He's not going to blow them off. He's going to acknowledge them, listen to them, interact with them, because that's what good podcast people do. So I don't know what's going on there, but it would be a shame if Rico's not in the world, and I hope it doesn't affect the trivia team. And there's drama surrounding the trivia, because like I said, I hope Kirk can win back-to-back championships, and I hope that Rico has something to do with that. So that'll be interesting to see what happens in 2024, but I really hope the Kirk-Rico dynamic doesn't break up going forward. There are 2 final things I want to talk about very quickly. The first thing was the Boston Radio Watch tweet about pizza a few days ago, and I responded that bar pizza is a sin. I like thin crust brick oven pizza. It's what I grew up on. Maybe it's a Sicilian thing, but to me, a cheese brick oven is great. Now, admittingly, I haven't had great bar pizza. I've always leaned towards brick oven. People have acknowledged, like, hey, there are good places, Rhode Island, Stoughton, and I'll definitely try those types of pizzas out, or those places out going forward. But to me, brick oven cheese, that's my tops. And to close, I saw that there was a Consistency Pod review show in the works, and I find this so, great. I enjoy it. I mean, it's fun to see those type of accounts pop up, and I hope it's true. I hope that there's a guy or 2 out there that are going to be reviewing the Consistency podcast going forward. I would love for this to be true. I can't wait if there is an episode 1. I'd love to hear it, and maybe I can be a guest on that show one day, but hopefully that's true, because I think that would be a lot of fun. So that wraps up episode 11. I'm going to have an episode 12 out probably around, December 30th, December 31st, right around there. Want to give the guys some, especially Coleman, another podcast that they can cut up and use on the show if they want when they return on January 2nd. So until then, happy holidays, Merry Christmas, Happy New Year, and I'll talk to you soon.